G'day guys, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Empire. We have got a very special guest on today because he is not only a solid founder, he runs a seriously well-oiled machine, but he's also like a little brother to me. Sam is one of my portfolio partners, one of the greatest operators I have seen, and also somebody that has a really true heart. Now today we're going to dig into three really key points. We're going to talk about how he scaled Delta Temp to 3x in our first 12 months of working together. We're going to dig in a little bit to our portfolio play and how we put that together so that some of you can understand that. And also we're going to talk about how Sam has migrated his way into coaching and helping other business owners to grow their companies and to support them and get himself some fulfillment there as well. He's talking about getting his life on purpose, not only through his own business, but also through helping others. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my little brother of sorts, Samuel James from Delta Temp. Mate, thank you for listening to the intro.
That is a lot to live up to, big brother.
In the least condescending sense. Mate, can you please for us get us up to speed on Delta Temp so the guys listening know full context about where you are at in your business journey?
Sure. So trade, location, team size. We are air conditioning and refrigeration, also branching out into electrical. We are based on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, and we are, where are we? I think we have 10 of us now.
Excellent. Mate, before we started working together, what was the company like?
I was laughing at that intro. Before we started working together, I remember I sent you a profit and loss, which looked incredibly healthy because I thought I was making 40, 50 grand hand over fist every month. And yeah, the numbers were nowhere near accurate. So I think that paints a pretty good picture of where we're at.
Can we drill into like the tactical pieces that come into play there? Because that's something that you and I, now that we do, spend a lot of our time advising other business owners, we do see that happen so often. What were some of the pieces that you can share with somebody else who's in that position, a couple of years ago, breaking through that $1 million mark, but a little bit confused about the finances? What were some of those pieces there?
In terms of drilling into financial accuracy, the biggest hiccup for us is our supplier bills weren't up to date. We had credit accounts with relevant suppliers, and that wasn't reflected in the profit and loss on a month-to-month basis.
Okay. There was also some components about how directors' take-home income was structured as well. Can we drill into that too?
Yeah, so the difference between owner's drawings and salary. So we didn't have the right structure in place where myself and my partner's salary was reflected in the P&L either. We were originally, as part of the growth and everything we were doing, owner's drawings. So again, it just wasn't a true reflection in the data.
And I think that's the most important piece, is that as much as I say, and as much as we both say that PAYG is a great way to go for good housekeeping, the most important piece there is that the numbers weren't reflecting the accuracy. So if you're on drawings and you acknowledge that you're on drawings, then at least you can say, well, my profit's not 30 or 40 or 70%. It's a lot less once I take out my personal income. And that's the important piece there to know when people are dick measuring about their profitability. It's how can we make sure that we're comparing penises for penises or apples for apples. Now,
yeah, nice and crude.
I know that you and I could drill into the numbers all day, but I want to really help the guys understand, how did you grow so fast within that first 12-month period? What were the tactical levers that were pulled?
We invested a lot of time and effort in building a brand awareness as quick as we could, and that paid dividends in all of the marketing and everything that we did. So it was all branding and marketing.
Okay. What was the first piece? If someone's like, oh, okay, I understand the word brand or I understand the word marketing, but I don't really know what to do. What are some pieces that they could take away?
So for us, we did what we call the brand review. So we reflected on, how we'd been representing ourselves in the market up until that point, and we pivoted entirely. We went very heavy into, the whole ethos that people buy from people. We highlighted the team, took a lot of photos, videos, filmed a lot of professional content so that we could build a lot of trust in the market.
And that's a really important piece, isn't it? It's that when we think about brand awareness, we're like, oh yuck, it's not lead gen, so I can't grab tangibly the data from it. However, we fail to see that there is an ecosystem at play where, you see those companies that have been around 15, 20, 30, 50 years, and for some reason they've just survived on word of mouth because they do have that brand awareness. Now we can supercharge that by developing and curating our brand, but there's also has to be the other side as well, because we can't just wait for our brand awareness to spread, and we can't just wait for SEO to mature. What about the lead gen side?
Yeah, so once we had that content and everything in place, we put it straight to work with our meta ads. Primarily meta, Facebook and Instagram to begin with. We've only recently started branching out into Google ads as well.
Okay. Why meta first? And then I want to know why introduce Google ads.
Why meta first? It came highly recommended. So the marketing agency that we use, Mr. Yates from Shift Creative, he is very familiar with Meta. He does do Google ads as well quite well, but it was the first stepping stone for us because we're a little bit more, we're both, B2C and B2C and B2B. So we do both builders and homeowners, both of which spend a lot of time on social media. We wanted to get our brand shoved essentially down their throats. So it worked.
And we had thought ahead for this as well, because we knew as soon as we picked up too much work, as soon as we lent in far enough to fill up the pipeline, that straight away we were going to run into a people problem. And we wanted to make sure that we had a brand there to get the good guys. Now, everybody wants to say you can't find good guys. There's no good guys out there. How do you combat it?
So in that first brand review that we did, as you sort of alluded to, the biggest effort that we put into wasn't just content around attracting more clients and generating more leads and work and revenue. We also created content around finding the right people to come on board. So we created a hiring video at the same time, which we still use today, even from that first filming session, 18 months ago.
What's some key points about it? What makes your hiring video different? Is there some visuals? Is there some wording? Is it where you place it? Or is it just you just put budget behind it?
For a little while there, and even up until now, we still, minimum we spend consistently is $20 a day. So it's not a massive budget when we're just sort of turning it over for a bit of brand awareness. For us, the hiring video, there's things that I'll do different now that it's been in circulation for a little bit. And I do want to sort of split test between what we have and what we can do. The hook is, whether you're already here or you're looking to move interstate, welcome to the beautiful Sunshine Coast. We push very hard for work-life balance, but we push hard for the lifestyle at the end of the day.
That's really interesting, because you're playing with what you have, really. So to get people to, and I mean, you did this as well, and you'll explain to us in a moment why that's important to you. But enticing people to migrate, because there is such a large migration from the eastern seaboard up to sunny coast.
Yes,
you did it too. Tell us why.
Guilty as charged. It was all for lifestyle. Obviously, we had to create, or I always intended on creating my own opportunity once we got here. But if I can create that opportunity for somebody else to make that move a lot smoother, then, they'll be compelled by the same reasons for us. It's such a beautiful place to live, even with the heat that we see at the moment.
Before we drill down into like some operational components, where did you migrate from?
Yes.
And what did you do as soon as you hit the ground into a new location?
Migrated from Melbourne originally. I'm laughing because I didn't prep nearly as much as I should have. We went through such an effort to get all of our licensing and everything sorted. All the stuff in hindsight I should have done in the months prior to the actual move, but we definitely got caught in the whirlwind of excitement. So to digress, and full transparency, I had to subby for a little bit when we first got here because of the QBCC issues that we had in just like the paperwork and the legwork to do so.
To be young again, eh? To be young and naive. Not that you're old, bro.
Yeah, well, it depends who you ask. I've got a few greys coming through, so.
Mate, a lot of guys are still in that, sub 1 mil or around the 1 mil. We call it the swamp. It's a bit of a trap. How did you structure your time to get yourself out of that trap?
Even now, man, it's still just balls to the wall, to put it bluntly. Like, there's structure in terms of me being a little bit more definitive about spending time with the family, because since we've been up here, we now have a little family of our own. But for me, it's just as much work as I can cram into the hours of the day that I'm sitting at the desk, sort of thing.
Okay. What about some key roles or hires that help you leverage your time? Because you
Yep.
cannot do everything.
No, even now we're starting to see a little bit of limitations in what can be done with the time that I have. So the biggest leverage for us on the back end was a full-time office manager. That is Anne in administration. She took over a lot of that tedious tasks. It's a very obvious one, and we have this conversation all the time in the growth lab about the first delegation. They're cheap, $35 an hour on average, and the amount of stuff that they can do, like, I remember not to go too far in the tangent, but I remember when Anne first started, she came on board right towards the end of the month, and she, sits down. She says, "Oh, I thought it would be a really good time to start because you probably got all this stuff that you want me to do right on the end of the month. So, like, what do you want to do first?" I turned to her and I said, "I don't know. What do you want to do?"
And that's the exact mentality of you hadn't hired that role before. You hadn't sat next to that role before. Even when you were working for other people, you didn't really know too much about what that role was. And I'm careful not to say she, although it is quite a female dominated quite a role there. But you didn't really get to see what that person does. What were some of the hesitations before getting an office manager?
None. I went in entirely blind, and I was, because of such like a low output for what it actually costs to have an office manager. I didn't really have any significant hurdles in my mind, at least.
Excellent, because we had some conversations about essentially drawing a line down the page. What are you doing that you shouldn't be doing? What can they do? And it becomes blatantly obvious, doesn't it? It's like, I don't like doing accounts. I don't like following up invoices. I don't like checking if deposits have been paid. All of those things chew up the first 2 hours of your day, burn through your good coffee brain. So instead of doing other work, and then the majority of what your role has been is around the sales component. That's what you should be doing. That's your highest and best use. I want to talk about some of the things that don't go perfectly. Can you explain for us the mentality of bringing a sales manager in and then kind of the progression from there?
Absolutely. So we did have a sales manager come on board. Great guy, still with us today in a different role, but wasn't the right role for what we needed at the time. I came to realize, and this was very transparent in conversation with yourself, that I had hired for one of my strengths as opposed to one of my weaknesses. I thought at the time prior to hiring it would be like the last cog in the machine, and I'd actually be an efficient managing or an effective managing director, and we could generate revenue and everything without me. But the numbers don't lie. The performance wasn't there. It wasn't enough to justify the additional cost without the additional performance to, back it up at the end of the day.
And this was not about the wrong person for the right role. That role still needs to exist in the future, and that guy is still well capable of achieving it. How did you really identify that the timing was off? What were the markers?
Yeah, so obviously with sales, the clearest KPI is always going to be revenue. We didn't see the significant jump in revenue that we needed, or the gradual increase in revenue that we needed to justify having somebody else in the position. Even if, again, it could have been the perfect person for the role, I could have structured it in terms of the delegation or the training, potentially not how we sort of needed it. It's been a bit of a learning curve. Again, great person, still with us today, but just not the right time for that particular role.
And then there was a bit of seasonality, I think, that came into it as well,
Correct.
almost preempting a summer rush, particularly for aircon. And there's a few other trades out there that have a very strong seasonal pull. Maybe the anticipation or the excitement overled whether we were achieving our targets. And that is the beauty of us, and specifically yourself as well, tracking those targets so regularly that you can go, okay, I've made an assumption, I've made a big bet, and then to be able to adjust and also take action rapidly so that you don't find out 12 months later that maybe that wasn't the right decision. It's within the first 90 days. How did you repurpose that role? Because we don't want to bring a great person in, train them up for 3 months and find out that it was our structure or our timing that didn't work. How did you repurpose it, and what are you working on there?
Absolutely. So, one, the conversation that I had with the particular person was very easy. Great characteristics, really good personality, really good morale for him in particular. But because the numbers don't lie, there's no emotion in the numbers. So, we repurposed it. We're utilizing the skills that he did pick up in that time in that role to now branch out into another division, being solar. Because the gentleman that was in the role and is now in the different role is a qualified electrician, and obviously he's picked up quite a bit of sales skills. There's a lot of cross compatibility between high ticket ducted or air conditioning sales and high ticket solar sales.
That brings me to circling back into the marketing and the lead gen area. Why, like, it seems that at surface level, you're like, aircon, solar, same target market, same avatar. But really, why? Why solar? And then what are you doing to maximize it?
Yeah, I mean, it already goes hand in hand a lot with what we already do. The amount of inquiries that we get when we're installing, just to get a little bit technical, we're installing a large capacity ducted system that draws quite a bit of power. They want to offset that with a, solar system or something similar. So we already get natural inquiries. We can utilize it with the electricians that we already had on board for the air conditioning works. We can branch out, use some of the labor and the resources that we already have, and again, just drive revenue in that regard.
This is the perfect example of adding on a complementary service because it fits, not adding on a secondary service because we want to. So listening to what the market's saying, noticing that there's seasonality, and also looking at the systems and the structure that we have to get the most leverage out of it as well, from our labor, from our tools, from our vehicle resources, and then also the tech stack, which I want to drill into. You're a key systemizer. What's the system flow? And it's more around the lead gen to Simpro job management software area.
Great. So to get a little bit higher level and not too caught in the weeds, pun intended, we use Go High Level as our customer relationship manager, which any of the website forms or meta ad forms, even potentially Google calls, they come through to Go High Level. We then utilize that as the pipeline, and we've set up automations where if myself or administration officer Anne, if she drags a pipeline opportunity across to a certain stage, automatically exports both to our job management system and then external proposal generating systems as well.
Okay, what does it push through to Simpro, just so that everyone can understand? Because there's guys listening, they're like, what the fuck? Like, how does it do it?
Yeah, we love our acronyms, CRM, JMS, all that other stuff.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we have full transparency over everything.
We use Go High Level. All the leads come into Go High Level, exports to Simpro, our job management software, or JMS. And then we also have another third-party software that we use for our higher ticket proposals.
Now, you said something to me a few weeks ago as well around the AI scenario, because we've been dabbling with a little bit of that in the boardroom. We've been talking about custom GPTs. You went a level deeper. What did you research into, and what's the outcome at the moment?
Yeah, so what we have rolled out over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, with a few teething issues we're still figuring out, is an AI agent. So being that we're in like the thick of the seasonal workflow and our like lead volume is 90 leads in a space of a few days sort of thing, we just can't keep up, especially with having moved that sales manager out of the role. I'm a little bit time poor as it is. I can't keep up with calling leads. For us to still make contact and abide by the quick response time that we want to have, we've set up the AI agent. Within 30 seconds during business hours, if somebody submits a lead, they'll get a call from Jess, who we've aptly named her, and she's got a set couple of questions that she asks. So it hasn't been perfect, but we are getting there.
Everyone's probably thinking, is it super weird and is it super clunky, or does it sound real? Like, how does Jess perform?
It's almost weird because it sounds real, sort of thing.
How do you not scare the customers off or not offend anybody by like making them feel like they're not special and answering the phone personally?
Yeah, so we hit the nail on the head. As soon as Jess calls them, if they pick up the phone, it'll be, I'm an AI assistant for Delta Temp, just to address the elephant in the room. Yep. But I think it is a personal preference at the end of the day. Certain demographics, like elderly, they might not be all that for it. But we've had some really good feedback. Some people love the idea of AI and us doing everything that we can to be as futuristic as possible.
And it's really coming from a place of service, isn't it? Because if that tool wasn't there, then somebody has gone to all the effort of coming into the ecosystem to maybe do a little bit of research, look at some competitors, decide that, you know, a ducted replacement is what they want. And then they go and put their details in. They've gone all the way through, and then they don't get called back for 4 days because they don't understand that, you know, we're super busy during summer. It comes from a place of service. And I think that, like you've done, acknowledging the elephant in the room, that it's not to everybody's taste, but also for the AI agent to say, hi, I'm Jess, I'm an AI agent. This is the purpose of the call. It's just, I want to grab some info, isn't it? So that they can have a real phone call later.
Yep, 100%. It's the pre-frame that we have is we're trying to make it quicker for their benefit so that they can receive a quote. It subtracts the time that I need to spend on the phone getting that initial, 10, 15 minutes worth of information, and just makes the process a whole lot quicker. So when I am able to call them, I already have that preliminary information on hand.
Okay, let's zoom out now, because we love going into the tactical component. Some people are probably like, oh, AI, I'm not going to do that, but noted for later. What does your job look like? What's your role?
At the moment, I am slamming the phone. That's literally all I do. If it's not, putting out fires within the team or being operational manager sort of material, it's trying to drive more sales and just keep up with the sheer lead volume that we have. At this time of year, the biggest struggle that I have is trying to make time for strategy. Even with, just to be transparent, Max, who's moved into that electrical manager role to drive solar, even with him being on the tools pretty much full time, just getting electrical stuff over the line, we haven't really had a chance to sit down and drive strategy around what the future looks like in that regard. We're getting caught in the reps.
And this isn't an all the time thing, is it? This is a finite window.
It is. Yep.
When does it back off? When do you decide that you're going to, bring that sales manager role back in? Where are you thinking about your role? Because some people will be listening and going, well, how would you be coaching others if you're in exactly the same spot as them? Where are you at with that scenario?
I think because I'm in the exact same position makes it most apt to have those conversations around what I've done up until now. What I'm sort of trying to introduce is less about more sort of non-billable roles and, other people in the office taking my workload. We're trying to leverage technology and potentially like some offshore employees, virtual assistants, to be able to really drive efficiency with a much lower cost associated.
Yeah, and it's not everybody's flavor to go down the tech tools, the AI tools and the VAs, but also there is a huge cost saving and a monumental increase in efficiency there as well.
100%. And an necessary evil if you do have that sort of approach. If you don't pick it up now, you're just going to get left behind.
And I mean, the pressure that you're getting to, fall back into almost the swamp scenario is just the start of summer. It's just the start of the season change. It's the start of the sunny coast heat, and everybody's picking up the phone because everybody's late, and this happens every year. And then you've got the solar rollout coming for the slower months to then pick that level up. It's
Correct.
a very, very smart structure. Can we drill into the portfolio play that we did? Why? Because we alluded to it a little bit earlier around some numbers, and that you were, a little bit confused about where your numbers sat. Why did you start working together?
I think I annoyed the crap out of you over social media enough until you tolerated my presence.
You're in my DMs for like a year. It's coaching in the DMs.
It wasn't even fence sitting. It's just stealing the knowledge as much as I could.
And look, you have to. And that's exactly where everybody starts, is reaching out, asking for help, grabbing some advice, building a real meaningful relationship. How did we, let's drill into how do we structure a deal, and what are each of our, shareholder roles in the scenario?
Yep. So, I mean, I was governed by your experience at the end of the day, having started and expanded into multiple entities within Build Clean. So we did the shareholder agreement, did that whole scenario. Your role obviously stayed as shareholder and advisor, pretty much as we always had been, even just by DMs. just without the shareholder part. Now I'm still the managing director, obviously, and that will continue to develop.
What was the growth and the tactical components? We've gone through the lead generation. We know that you 3x revenue within the first 12 months. What are some of the things that you can't really flex about, or that everybody loves to see? Oh, what's your margins? How much revenue growth did you do? What's the things that we have worked on that you've implemented in the company that aren't as sexy but are really, really helpful?
Meeting
Like,
structure.
I've seen you cooking barbecues. I've seen some social posts of you like flipping eggs and stuff. What the
Yeah.
hell was going on?
Meeting structure is exactly what you're alluding to. So you and I have our own meeting agendas on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. We also have a weekly toolbox meeting and a fast meeting with the guys every single Monday morning. They get a brekkie, which has been ever evolving from when I was sorting it out. It was just straight bacon and eggs. Now it's, chicken burgers and a side of orange juice if somebody else is getting the materials. But
When you send the apprentice to the butcher and
yeah,
buy every once.
it comes back with 2 bottles of orange juice and some paper cups. So that doesn't fit the budget. But yeah, that has been the biggest driving force for culture, which is obviously a very airy fairy topic that can be a difficult one to flex or measure even internally. It's a very crucial part of where we're at, and the team that we have is the culture that we're ever building. It's not a picture perfect process, but we're investing into the culture as much as we can.
Okay, so meeting rhythms have been really important for information to flow up and down through different levels within the company. Flipping burgers on a Friday morning for the boys, or toolbox meeting with a little bit of camaraderie boosting, a little bit of enjoyment that happens there as well. What are some of the other components that, or some of the other tools that you're using to curate this culture? And then how do we know that it's working?
I mean, it sort of comes into the framework around the toolbox meeting itself. Not only do we have quality control and accountability within the team, which I think drives everyone to be better. We've rolled out company values. We have MVP of the month sort of thing, just so we can give credit where credit's due. Every now and again, I'll just have one of our company values is we don't have competition. We set the standard. The entire meeting will just be that value plus photos of workmanship that's been setting the standard very high. So we pump tires where tires need pumping.
There's a little bit of gamification going on there as well, isn't there? Because you got the MVP. There's also some like bonuses and extra things that happen throughout the business. What are they?
Yeah, so obviously the most unglamorous part of what we do with the heat that we see in this season, crawling through a roof space, installing a ducted system. Not the funnest place to be on a 30-degree plus day when it's 60 degrees up there. So we have ducted bonuses in play just as a little incentive. Every ducted that they finish within a day and they don't have a callback, it adds a tally to their bonus. Every 5 full tallies, every 5 tallies accounts for a full tally, and that's when they get their bonus.
Okay, why?
Gamification, as you said. It's incentivized so that, one, they hold each other accountable to avoid any sort of callbacks or workmanship related faults, and 2, because it's directly tied to ducteds, there's less kickback if they have to crawl through a roof regularly.
Yeah. Okay. And then you said as well, if they get it done within a day, that's like you breaking up unit economics so that you can then forecast that out. Is that right? Is that the real scenario there?
Yes. I mean, it makes it easier to forecast, obviously, but it's also just so that nobody's dragging their feet, sort of thing. They have to get it done within the day, even if it means that they have to really hustle or work through their lunch break and get paid for it or something like that. It's it's just a drive hustle.
And that almost mimics like what you were like when you were on site, when you were working shoulder to shoulder with the guys. There is that mentality of like, we need to get this done by the end of the day, guys. Like, can we have a shorter lunch? Can we make up for it? We've got the toolbox meeting in a couple of days. Like, those components help the team to mimic what you would have done.
Yep. We want to move with purpose is how we describe it to the first years.
Oh, that's powerful. Mate, how did you transition into the coaching realm? Why did you get involved in the Growth Lab?
I mean, that's a question for you to a certain degree. We saw the necessity in creating levels to the game.
Excellent. Okay. Okay. And your skill set aligns really quite well with the guys who are exploring job management softwares, are exploring some of the different integrations, maybe starting to plug in some CRMs. They've got a few team members that are joining, and it's starting to potentially lose a little bit of that culture. What are some of the main things that you talk about or that you work on with your guys?
Yeah, so a lot of, I mean, the mission for the Growth Lab is 100K months consistently. That's all we're striving for. A lot of it for most of the guys revolves around pipeline. Then we start looking at hiring. Then, quite shortly after they ascend to the boardroom. So it's, a lot of conversation around pipeline and getting the first couple of hires on board.
What happens when someone comes in and they have that pipeline issue? What's some of the tactical components? Can you break it down, or can you give us an example, a working example of it?
Yep, 100%. So to get caught in the weeds, we push very hard to start utilizing the free leads engine. So we want guys to not have to invest, the amount of revenue that we did immediately into the content and everything like that. There's a lot of free leads that can still be generated without a, significant monetary investment. Something that we still use today. So if you're targeting more of a residential sort of builder, we use Instagram and just do as much reach out as we can. We want to max out as close as we can to Instagram's allowances for DMs in a day. If you're pushing a little bit more into commercial or, B2B, business to business, you might look at LinkedIn as a potential alternative.
Oh, there's a few pieces there for guys to take home. What about you becoming a coach or a teacher? How has that sharpened you as a leader?
It's been awesome, man. It's been very impactful. Like, I think to digress a little bit, part of the biggest reason you and I started working together is business is really lonely at the end of the day. I know Alex Hormozy talks about the lonely chapter where, you're more successful than the friend group you used to have, and that makes it uncomfortable, but you're not yet successful enough to hang out with the people that you want to. It's that lonely sort of chapter. So we get to be that camaraderie and that team member for everyone that's in the Growth Lab, really diving headfirst into that lonely chapter.
Oh, that's good. That's like, it hits in the feels, doesn't it? And it doesn't really matter, even now that I see the different levels of the game, it doesn't really matter whether you're under a mil, whether you're up to 3, whether you're doing 5, 6 to 10. It still can be really lonely. How does a community fit into it? What are some of the things you do to make it a little bit less lonely?
So no real other sort of groups or anything as of this sort of day and time, but similar to how you and I connected, I've always been hell-bent on trying to reach out to people that know more than me. So I've managed to connect with a lot of businesses doing, in excess of 10 mil, connecting with the directors, building conversation and a bit of relationship, trying to, you don't know what you don't know. I want to learn the lessons, and I want to take away the lessons without making the same mistakes that they did on the journey. If I can avoid that pain myself, that really helps with the lonely chapter. Nothing that we do in business these days is original. There is a lot of people that have already done a lot more than what we have currently. And I think Tony Robbins says success leaves clues. So try and find other people that are successful.
It sure does. How do you actually reach out to these people? Are you just picking up the blower and calling their office number and hoping for the best? Like, what are you doing?
Nah, so no office. It's usually being a pest over Instagram. I mean, you can attest to the effectiveness of it. So
it works. It definitely works.
That's all right. I'll just slide in the DMs. So,
and it's like the actual fact of it is that it works so well that I've seen you at not only one race course, but two V8 supercar tracks, totally on someone else's expense.
Yeah, it's been awesome. That day that you were sick on the couch, even though I was down in your hometown.
Yeah, knocked down with it must have been gastro or something. Missed the races, and you're off there with all the big players in the industry, absolutely loving it.
I don't know if you were devastated or not, but I was having a good time.
Okay, what would you say to the version of you that's still under $1 million? What would you say to that person?
That is such a good question. I think even just today, I was reflecting on how lucky I am to be going through the pain and the problems that I prayed for however long ago. Like we are, facing $3 million plus level problems sort of thing. It's, yeah, keep striving to upgrade your problems.
Nice. What's next for Delta Temp? What's on the horizon?
We got solar, man. So solar pushing harder into electrical. It's really cool to have somebody else in a position. So we have a division within the business that I can treat very much like a growth lab student, where we're just striving to hit 100K months in solar pretty much as quick as we can. Because of the cross compatibility with all of the resources that we already have, we have a cheating advantage. But yeah, that's probably the most excited I've been in having another sort of venture within what we're already doing.
And does your drive to expand the company, to push things forward, does that affect your ability to show up as a parent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so lucky to have my partner Bree on the back end. And I tell her time and time again that we would not be where we are without her tolerating the work that I do. Like there is a lack of balance at certain seasons. It's just an evil necessity for what we're trying to build. If we want to face millions of dollars worth of success, we have to face those problems in turn. So yeah, it has been a bit of a challenge at times, but having the right partner on the back end has been unreal. I mean, it just increases the driving force. Everything I do is for them, for the family that we've built, the family that's yet to come. Yeah, it's very motivating.
My final piece to drill into you, to really drill, because I like to put the hard questions on people. What was the true turning point in the business?
Tangibly, it was when we had a team and everything in place and we started getting content filmed. Nobody talks about the upside of content where you just feel incredibly proud of the team and the business that you're building. Like I get goosebumps watching some of the videos that we still have that we filmed 18 months ago or some of the more recent shoots. That's when I started believing that we actually had a real business. And then obviously the brand awareness and everything that comes with it, we start getting recognized as not so much a competitor, but a driving force within the industry.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for not seeing your brand. Like you take your iPhone photos, you take your split systems back in the day of like, look what we've built. But then you have a professional videographer come in and they capture those angles of your team getting it done. And from start to finish, from rough in, you get to see you talking to the clients about the tech and how to use it. A lot of us need to lean into that so that we can get that feedback loop closure that you had in that position where you're like, holy shit, like look at all of the things that we do summed up into quite literally a 60-second highlight reel.
Yeah. I mean, it's, confronting trying to be on camera. You get a little bit more comfortable each and every time. I mean, coaching has probably helped with that, obviously. But yeah, like when you see the finished product and you, like the amount of times I'll just pull up the video just to watch it with Brie, because she's the biggest supporter. It still gives me goosebumps. I take a lot of pride in the team and the business that we're building.
That's so good that Brie watches the videos with you. I show some of my stuff to my wife Kate. She just doesn't care. She's totally immune to it now.
Yeah, it's not her content, so it doesn't matter.
I want to pick one. I said that was the last one, but I want to pick one more final piece. What are you learning at the moment?
How to be an effective leader and how to lead with purpose. There's been a lot of like learning curves where I've personally let the team down or haven't led in the style that I want. For me now, it's more leading from the front, bridging the gap between, still being the back end managing director, but, I've recently been back on the tools for a couple of hours at a time, as little as possible, but just in order to lead from the front. So to sum it up, it's trying to be an effective leader in combination with a managing director.
Fantastic, bro. Samuel James, I appreciate you. I'm sorry for calling you my little brother at the start. There's no condescending stuff there. It's more that we are brothers, man. Yeah. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. And how can people reach out with you?
Instagram or sign up for the Growth Lab.
It's not It's not at Wampanoag69. What's your Instagram handle?
Not
Hit you
anymore.
on your work profile?
Yeah, if you search Delta Temp, you'll find us pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Thank you, mate. I appreciate you, and goodbye for now.